What is going on, guys? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about a new study that proves that caloric restriction is unnecessary when implementing intermittent fasting. Stay tuned. So the platform for this study was already kind of strange. The question that it was asking wasn't if you can lose weight at the same rate as caloric restriction or energy restriction. The question that was being asked for this study specifically was, is alternate day fasting more effective for weight loss than normal, good old calorie restriction? Now, I already have a problem with that question, because it shouldn't be, is it better than caloric restriction? Because just the fact that you're doing it without caloric restriction versus someone who is doing it with caloric restriction, even if you get the same results, it should be pretty damn spectacular if you can do it without restricting calories at all. Now, this study is very, very weird to me because, number one, it's not on PubMed, which is literally the most reliable source when it comes to getting research and studies that were done. It has all of the citations, it has all of the authors, it breaks down the abstract, it gives you the charts, what they actually did, and PubMed is literally the source for all of these studies if you want to go ahead and find them. But this new one only appears in PubMed as a link, and then you have to go to a page to see the study, and then if you want to see the full study, you have to click full text, and then after that they ask you for money so you can read the whole thing. It's already giving me a very funny feeling before I even start reading this study, but I digress and I commence reading. Now, I found interesting things. It looks to me that this study was tailored to kind of sway the public opinion favoring fasting. But one thing that I would add that they should have done is, for some reason, a lot of studies like to use alternate day fasting as opposed to just using daily fasting. They should just try to see how it will work out if someone fasts every single day. For example, the warrior diet, a 20-hour fast and eating 4 hours, or the lean gains diet, 16-hour fast and eating for 8 hours. But they always tend to want to use the alternate day fasting, and that to me is very strange. They also touched on the fact that the highest dropout rate, an alarming dropout rate, was the alternate day fasting group, as they had to do it for 12 months. The only thing is, 6 months of those, they were doing it to lose weight, and the last 6 months, they were just doing it to maintain their weight. Well, they had less people to begin with than the caloric restriction group, because the caloric restriction group had 35 people, the alternate day fasting group had 34 people. So 38% of that group dropped out for alternate day fasting, and only 29% dropped out for the caloric restriction group. That seems like a big gap, right? So the numbers were 34 people in this group and 35 people in this group. That means 13 people dropped out of here and only 10 people dropped out of here. So there was a 3-person difference. Not that big of a deal, in my opinion. Plus, intermittent fasting takes much more willpower, in my opinion, than just normal old caloric restriction. And they touched on the fact that the cholesterol was higher in the alternate day fasting group. If you look at any articles that are trying to push away from fasting, they're just like touching that button. Hey, you know, the cholesterol was higher. The cholesterol was higher in the intermittent fasting group. The cholesterol was higher in the alternate day fasting group. The cholesterol was higher in the alternate day fasting group. The problem here, though, is that, number one, cholesterol is a macronutrient thing. It isn't a caloric restriction versus non-caloric restriction thing. But they did not regulate the food of the alternate day fasting group during their feast period, during their feast days. They allowed them to eat 125% of their daily value on those days, and they did not monitor what they ate. They had a specific meal plan and setup for the caloric restriction group, where they ate 75% of their daily value every single day, and it was set up meals, And I'm sure that their reasoning for that will be, well, we wanted to make sure that they were at a caloric deficit at all times, and we wanted to provide them the food so that it could be easy for them to restrict. And with the alternate day fasting group, they can eat as much as they want because it's feast day, so doesn't really matter. They're above more than 125% of their daily intake, daily value. Yeah, but then don't pull the card of the macronutrient damaging the body. Obviously, if you pick healthier foods with less cholesterol than someone who's not even caring to monitor what they're actually eating and just eating, you're going to have a discrepancy there. But the funny thing is that the first 6 months during the time when the alternate day fasting group was losing the weight, their high density cholesterol went up, which is the good cholesterol. The remaining 6 months when they were maintaining their weight, that's when the low density cholesterol came in, and that's the bad cholesterol. And then they went ahead and tackled the weight loss. The big one, the weight loss itself. Now, this is the problem. They only tackled weight loss. Now, people were going to the gym. There were some people that were motivated. People were building muscle and doing all these different things. They only focused on the weight loss. Now, remember, the fasting group fasted one day, ate the other, fasted, ate. So it was feast, fast every day. The caloric restriction group had 75% of their daily value every single day, no matter what. Oh, and let me mention that they were allowed to eat 25% of their daily value on their fasting day. So that group that was supposed to fast could eat about 500 calories or so. And they found that the alternate day fasting group actually ate more than the 25% that they were supposed to eat on their fasting days, and tended to eat a little bit less on their feast days. So they didn't even fully actually fast. Luckily, they were eating at specific times and stuff, so it allowed them to create this kind of superficial fast throughout the 6-month beginning period and the 6 month of maintenance. So with all that against our fellow trial members for intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, who do you think lost the most weight? The alternate day fasting group. That's right, guys. Eating whatever they wanted, not managing their calories, going above or sometimes a little bit below their 125%, and also going above their 25% that they were given for the fasting days. They still managed to lose 6%. Interesting. But if you look at the conclusion of the article, they say alternate day fasting is not more effective than caloric restriction. Well, I mean, if you break that article down for yourself, and I'll leave the link in the description. Unfortunately, you can't see the whole thing, but you can see the abstract and you can see the conclusion and all of that stuff. Then you will see that, no, alternate day fasting clearly came out the winner in this. But the main problem, my main problem, is that they tackled weight loss. And what I always try to preach is fat loss, not weight loss, because fat loss is the most important thing. Weight fluctuates very easily, but fat, that's a different story. So your boy Edward V pulled up his intermittent fasting skills and went into PubMed, found a study from October of 2016. And this study actually it was a systematic study, which means that they actually took caloric restriction studies that were done and alternate day fasting studies. There's the alternate day fasting thing again. Don't understand why, but whatever. They took both of those. They took about 38 of those studies, put them side by side. The one that matched the most in terms of the environment and what they had to deal with, they matched them up. And guess what happened? Not only did they do a systematic review, they also did a meta-analysis review. They found that there was no significant difference in mean body weight loss. So after they adjusted for the BMI and duration, there was no significant body weight loss. Mean body weight, which is basically the average of both groups in the meta-analysis. However, guys, there was a significant, not just more, as the other study proved that there was more weight loss with the alternate day fasting group, even though it was just a 1.0 more than the caloric restriction, which is still a big deal because one is restricting calories, the other isn't. But whatever. Once again, I digress. But this one proved, and I got it right here, there was a significant difference observed in fat mass. The ADF, which is the alternate day fasting group, 3.31 kg more fat loss than the VLCD, which is the very low calorie diet group. The difference being 3.31 kg more fat loss than the very low calorie diet group of just 0.05. And just an added note for that study, they also noticed that more fat-free mass that does not include fat, was found lost more in the very low calorie diet group than the alternate day fasting groups. That kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Now, it wasn't a randomized head-to-head study as it was with this group that I mentioned from the new study that was released, but it is very significant to note that this group did not interject the body fat loss. They only interjected the full weight mean for both groups. And I just showed you in the other study that is linked in the description that they did show that the both of the weights that were lost were very, very similar when it was all said and done, but that the alternate day fasting group significantly lost more body fat and protected more fat-free mass than the calorie restriction group. It looks like caloric restriction is actually inferior to fasting. A few more studies like this and it's gonna probably be a done deal. It looks like my boy Dr. Jason Fung was right. You can't refute the studies that are coming through, and these are done with actual human beings. And it just makes me laugh, the fact that one group has a calorie restriction, the other group does not have a calorie restriction. They both lose exactly the same amount of weight. Granted, even though the fasting group had a 1.0 percentage more than the caloric restriction group, but that's not significant, whatever. But the whole point is they still lost exactly the same amount of weight and they did not restrict their calories. That, my friend, is called a buzzer beater shot, winning the NBA championship title. Give it up for fasting versus caloric restriction. We win, guys, we win. Now, of course, there are gonna be more studies done and we're gonna see more coming out, but all of this looks extremely uplifting for the intermittent fasting group. Because look around, guys, they have to manipulate studies just to try their best to push away the fact that fasting is better than calorie restriction. I mean, you can't even read the full study. And I'm sure that if you go in there, you pull full text and you pay for it, we might see body fat loss higher in the alternate day fasting group than the caloric restriction group. What do you guys think? Because I'm not gonna pay for it. I'm sorry. Anyone who pays for it, go ahead, pay for it, get a snapshot, send it to me, and I'll take a look at the full study. But I'm not paying for that. Not at all. Thank you for watching this video, guys. If you have any other questions to any other videos that I've had in the past, I'll have one here. My subscribe button will be down there, and my jump rope will be right here, only $16.50. I'll see you on Sunday. Peace out, guys. Woo! Chalk it up for Intermittent Fasting Group. Pound it. Boom. Thank you. Peace.